Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's rendition of the Multifamily Investing Academy podcast. I'm here with Kelly. Have we ever met before?
No, we haven't, Charles.
I'm here with my old friend, Kelly Koontz, and I'm very happy to have him here. And he heads up submetersolutions.com. And we are going to get into a topic that everybody talks about when they're all, looking to acquire the multifamily properties. Say, oh, I'm going to submeter the property and I'm going to do all these great things, but they don't really know what it entails. And Kelly is the expert on this. So I'm so glad to have you here, Kelly. Do you want to give a shout out to anybody before we get started, Kelly? Like maybe your Ducks fans or whatever, whoever you shoot for.
Well, thanks for that opportunity, Charles. Our office is located just outside of Seattle. So this time of year, big Seahawks fans and go Huskies that are 10-0 and hoping to make it this year as the Pac-12 is disintegrating. Let's hope we're getting into the national playoffs this year.
Well, good for you, because I'm going to be cheering on my New England Patriots, my 2-27 New England Patriots. Yeah, I mean, like we have the best professional college football quarterback in history. So I mean that's what I'm calling Mac, lovely boy wonder, Mac
Right.
Jones. So yep. All right, hey, listen, let's get started here because this is a great topic. But let's take it from the beginning. When you look at a property, there are really two types of properties when I look at them. You have those that are all bills paid, and those that are tenant paid properties. Mm-hmm. Do you just focus on the all bills paid, or can you do something for us for both properties?
We typically can do something for any type of property. And I think you've really touched on it, Charles. Your listeners are likely very well aware that one of, if not the biggest expense that they have in operating a multifamily property is paying for the utilities. And there's different strategies that are out there to try to recover those costs. You can try to recover them into the monthly rent or lease. Certainly for many years now, there's been another strategy of a ratio based, or the acronym is RUBS, that you can take the bill and split it up in some mathematical formula that you may think is kind of sort of fair, but typically invariably creates conflict and really isn't fair. But really the method that we believe is the best that we promote is submetering. And so that simply is actually putting a utility meter, great example would be water, on the water supply line to every individual unit. And now you can charge the resident for exactly the usage that they are using. They are paying what they use. They have control now on what that cost is going to be based on their habits. And the amazing, almost magical part of our business is that if we go to a property that is not submetered and we add the meters to it, within 2 to 3 months, we almost always see the overall utility bill drop 20, sometimes more than 30%.
Hey, Kelly, why do you think that is? Could it have anything to do with the fact that it's now the tenant's responsibility?
Yeah, the water isn't free anymore.
Exactly.
Human nature kicks in, and now it's, hey, get out of the shower. It's costing us money.
Exactly.
So all of that basic fundamental economics kicks into play, and it works.
Basically, what you're saying is my father moves into everyone's apartment.
That is exactly
right.
They all
hear
Charles.
That voice in the background going, shut off no free lunch anymore.
Right.
Let me ask you this, Kelly, and we're going to go back and I want you to kind of give us the history here, because everybody knows the term RUBS, ratio utility bill back system, I think is what it stands for. Now, explain this to me. Is that just an acronym, or is that actually a company? Or are there a bunch of companies that provide that RUBS service? And explain to me exactly how it works.
Yeah, it is just an acronym, and there are many utility billing companies that are happy to do that for you. We do that with some of the properties, with some clients that would prefer that. And it is a method of splitting up the bill. You can't, one of the basic fundamental principles of our business is you can't use this as a profit where you're making money on the utilities. It's all about recovering the actual costs. RUBS allows you to take that actual utility bill and split it up in some method that you've described in your lease to your residents, and it could be based on number of occupants. It could be based on the number of bathrooms. It could be literally everybody pays the same amount. We split it up equally, or some multiple combination of that. The challenge with RUBS, it's better than nothing, but the challenge with RUBS is you're still not connecting what your father would be doing with the resident to change behavior. No one resident really can affect the overall bill. You're still at the whim of what your neighbors are doing with their water usage.
I see. So, when we say RUBS, was there really a need, based upon the way you just described it, was there really a need for a third-party vendor to bill it out? Or is that something you could have just built into the lease? Oh, you got all the 2 bedrooms are going to have this for a water bill, and all the 1 bedrooms are going to have this for a water bill.
Yeah, the one of the principles of RUBS is that you're taking the actual utility cost on a monthly or every other month basis as the utility bills the property and then splits it. So rather than it being a fixed fee every month, it changes. So somebody has got to do the administration of that and the calculation of that. Hence why some billing companies have been developed to support that.
I see. So and you touched upon something which I'm going to talk to you about the laws later on, but you just kind of touched upon the fact that you can't make money with your utility bills.
That's correct.
So what you're saying, in the old RUBS system, they would, the bill this month was $100,000 for your water. Okay, well, we're going to bill back everybody, $70,000 through some fair, equal mechanism. And then next month, if it's 120,000, we're going to use the same mechanism, but now everybody's bill goes up by 20% because they use more. So it's not going to be a fixed amount every single time.
That's exactly right.
I see.
Some properties choose to try to pick a fixed amount. That, number one, means you're always going to be too high or too low. Too high is a problem legally. Too low is a problem economically. Yeah. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. So using RUBS and actually collecting the amount is better than trying to fix it or trying to capture it in the rent each month. But it still is not changing behavior.
Okay. So I understand now why RUBS is not a beneficial mechanism. It's not fair to either party. Either side could get screwed. But Kelly, there can't be a way to put a meter on everyone's usage and bill back that way. Can there be?
Well, yeah, that just sounds way too complicated, and it's got to be fantastically high priced and expensive, and probably isn't for that's what the 100-unit plus places do, but not my 6-unit apartment. No, that would never make sense. And
well, you know what? I'm going to invent it. I'm going to go into a business. Maybe you and I should go into business together. Okay. So tell me how submetering works, and tell me the evolution of it, because I've often heard about this, but I've never spoken to anybody that has put it into practice. So tell me how it works.
Yeah, great question. So it has been around for decades, 20, 30 years. And smart, savvy, typically the larger property developers began to start installing water meters for every unit, even though the building had a single master meter from the utility 20 plus years ago. And then the challenge became Well, number one, making sure that meter is installed on a water supply line that accurately isolates the water for that unit. So there may be some specific decisions made based on the age of the building and how the water was developed. We can talk about those details. But the next challenge came along on, well, okay, I can put this meter on there, but maybe the meter has to be inside the unit next to the hot water heater in the closet. I can't go into everybody's unit every month and with a flashlight and a step stool trying to get up there and read the face of the meter. So our industry really popped when we developed automated wireless remote meter reading systems that pair with the water meter or the gas meter or the electric meter. So now that reading happens with equipment that's pushing that data up to a cloud server. And now the billing company or even the property management can access that and grab those reads, see a daily read. And now that opens up the opportunity that with a very straightforward software that's developed for our industry, we can read those meters, we can calculate what the individual bills are, and we can send that bill to every resident each month.
Okay. Wow. That's very cool. So it's unique. I mean, you're going to have to look at every single property and figure, okay, where's the best location for these meters? And we put them in there. Does the tenant have to be on the account? Do you bill it that way?
We will, for a traditional apartment building, we're going to be working with the property owner, property manager to sell them and get the hardware installed. And then we work with the property management company to create the billing accounts, and then we individually bill directly to the resident for their individual usage each month. So the property manager is going to get summary reports. They're still going to it's still going to be responsible to pay that utility bill to the utility company, but now they're going to have from the residents the money to pay that based on our services for billing.
For collecting the money. Excellent.
Collecting the money.
Very, very cool. All right. One of the things we've only spoken about the water.
Correct.
What else can you do?
Well, the more expensive than water can be the electricity. It can be the natural gas, propane in some circumstances. All of those are able to be submetered with those types of meters as well. Same kind of reading equipment. We can even get creative with systems for heat, thermal heat, and whatnot, where we have some devices that can accurately split up the actual consumption of utilities. A gas fireplace is a great example. If a property has gas fireplaces and they want to recapture the actual cost for the gas, we can have devices that sense how long the gas fireplace is on in each unit, and that allows us to accurately distribute the bill.
Wow. Okay. All right. And this, tell me about the equipment. Like, that must be where the big upfront costs are.
Yeah, there's some money, but every time we get a chance to share about this, the typical response is that it?
Yeah.
Water is usually the predominant utility to submeter. Some people forget that it's water and sewer. The cost of water, typically the national average is somewhere around 0.5 cents for a gallon of water. The cost of the sewer, though, can typically be 1.5 cents, 3 times the cost of the water. So we capture both of those utilities.
Well, that's you understand why, Kelly. We add a lot of value to the water and then send it down the sewer.
Correct. Yep. It's a lot harder to deal with that sewage water than bring it to you in the first place.
Yeah.
So, Yeah,
We had a lot of minerals to the water, and that
exactly.
makes it more valuable.
Lots more value to it. You're exactly right. So a cost of a typical water meter for an apartment or a condo with the wireless transmitter that goes with it is going to be no more than about $120 per unit for the hardware costs.
And the owner owns it. It's not like leased out
Yep.
or anything like that.
Nope, no lease out. They own that that product that's going to traditionally last at least 15, 20, 25 years. It's a utility grade, very accurate. It has to meet all of the accuracy standards that the water company has to do with the meter at your house.
Okay.
So these are accurate devices. They use wireless technology. There is a battery in that transmitter, but it's got a 10-year life to it. So there's very little maintenance. And that means that you don't have to bring power or anything to every location. They can literally be installed anywhere, sometimes in ceilings, under homes. You never really have to get to them once they're installed. A gas meter can be priced for about $250. An electric meter is something less than $300 on average for a residential grade meter.
Okay, so tell me about the billing system, the management system. So, how does that all work?
Great question.
And take it, and before you answer, Kelly, I want you to also tie in the tenants' involvement with the billing system as well.
Yeah. So we'll kind of start from the just perspective of the property owner manager. The way that works is we're going to put that system in place. And then the property manager has the decision to decide whether they're going to take the responsibility to calculate the bills each month and bill the residents directly. We have some clients that do that. Most of our clients opt, though, to have somebody like us do that monthly billing function because we can put a small legal fee on the bill each month that the resident pays, and our service to read those meters, calculate the bills, prepare and mail those bills or email them is a free service for our property owners and managers. And that billing fee is traditionally about $3 or $4 per unit per month that pays for all of that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask, what happens if they don't pay? How do you shut off the water?
Well, you can't shut off the water. And
right.
That's a great point. We are very careful to make sure that neither our clients, the property owners, get in any kind of a situation where they're considered a utility. So that's why we don't try to make money or anything like that. So can't turn the water off, but there are a lot of really helpful tools that you can use in your lease to make sure that you are getting paid for your utility costs there. A really classic example is we've seen a lot of attorneys that have put a note into a utility, or a lease rather, that says all money collected will first be applied against any outstanding utility cost and then applied to the monthly rent. So if they only pay their rent and they're not paying their utility, they're not paying their rent. And now all those tools that you have as a manager come into play.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. I'll have to go back and check some of the leases that I've seen and see how that works out. But do you provide that type of language to your clients that they should add to their leases?
Yeah, it's a really insightful question, Charles. We certainly are a service that needs to make sure that we're complying with any local, state laws regarding landlord-tenant specific rules. We have an industry that tracks that and has a very comprehensive database. So we're very careful with any new client that we're working to set up a submetering system and a billing service to make sure that we check that for all of our clients. So we advise them on all of the specific rules that may be applying to them. And then we certainly encourage them to talk to their attorney to make sure that they're doing everything correctly.
Right. All right. Now let's talk about, everyone is an armchair lawyer. So I hear so many times like, well, it's against the law to do that. Oh, it's against the law to do that. Oh, it's like, has anyone really investigated, if it's against the law? Tell me about the issues of local laws, some that you have seen, little apocryphal, not, but, little stories about that you could share with us would be very helpful. And anecdotal stories is the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
And then like, how do we protect ourselves from, some of these types of issues that the municipalities are laying on us?
Super insightful question. And of course, like many industries, it's a couple bad players that can land on the front page of a newspaper that can give a black eye to our whole industry. So there I am on the jailhouse steps saying, but Kelly Koontz told me I could. Yeah, he told me that this is okay.
And then we see you scurrying out the back door. Like,
right.
Yeah.
The anecdotal areas where it clearly is an issue is if you do try to mark up the cost of the utility and charge the residents more than what are actually your actual costs. That is just a non-starter. Don't go there.
Yeah.
That can lead you to troubles. The cost of that very nominal billing service fee, the administrative fee, needs to be, there are some jurisdictions in the country that regulate that. Most of the country doesn't, but there are some that do. They don't want to see that over, say, $5 a month per resident. So you just, and we've seen, unfortunately, some bad players in our industry that will make that $19, $20 a month. And that's what gives our industry sometimes some challenges.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you want to find a billings vendor that is part of the regulatory industry like we are in, that's going to tell you what the specific laws that may apply to your area are, and that are not, that are very clearly just recovering those costs and doing it in a reasonable manner.
So Kelly, where do you make your money? On the sale of the meter, or do you do the billing service, or how does your company work?
Both. So we certainly sell a lot of equipment. We're a little unique from some of our big competitors nationally in that most of them are all about only getting that billing service, and they'll sell you some meters. We have found that there's been a great niche of particularly smaller properties that want the advantages of what submetering can offer, to lower those costs, to collect the utility costs for them. And but maybe somebody, one of the big players says, no, if you don't have 50 units, we're not going to talk to you. We're happy to sell you metering equipment, and then we'll talk to you about what makes best sense for you. If it makes sense for us to do a monthly billing program, great. If it makes sense that you want to do it internally, that's okay too. We'll get you set up for success with that kind of strategy. So we certainly make a little money on the billing services. That's a repeat business, so we like that a lot. We make some money on the hardware. We use a lot of different equipment products, so we're not married to one manufacturer, one system. I think what we like to offer as one of our advantages is that we are really, really technically smart. We want to hear about the unique situation that your property has, and then we'll offer to you the right hardware equipment package that's going to be the very best value for your situation.
So you're like acting as a broker for all of those vendors to figure out, some are good for some things, some are good for others, but doesn't matter to you. You're just going to work, take care of my needs.
Right. And we may grab this electric meter here from this manufacturer and this wireless meter reading system from a completely different manufacturer and pair those together, do all the configuration of that equipment, be right there with every step of the way on the installation, working with the electrician that's doing that install, commissioning the system to make sure it's all up online, and then we'll work with that client to find out what's their best billing method is going to be.
What size properties do you, what's your minimum? Like I don't even bother calling me unless, I'm a big boy.
We have a growing piece of our business that is literally duplexes. Dadu units, is a rage right now. I'm putting a mother-in-law unit in the backyard behind my house, but I need to separate the utility from the main bill. We are seeing a lot more orders for as small as 2, 3, 4 unit properties.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. Do you want to know a story of where submetering or bill back to the tenants doesn't work?
Love to hear it.
Well, it's one of my stories, unfortunately. So, I was looking at I bought this apartment complex on a street with 1,300 other apartment units. Okay. So my neighbor, everyone around me is a vulture, and they're all, trying to steal my tenants. And I had the great idea, because I was brand new in the business. I had the great idea. Watch how I'm going to save money and make money. I'm going to shift the utility costs to the tenants.
Right.
And this is going to be a great idea. And look how smart I am. Overnight, packed everything up in their Samsonite trash bags and marched over to my competition, because C-class residents don't like to pay their utility bills. They want an all bills paid, one price, and that's it. And if they could pay on a weekly basis, they'd pay on a weekly basis. But what I found out was you got to know your market. You've got to understand what your competitors are doing before you go out there and try to change the world. And, in that particular case, trying to get switch it to an all bills to a tenant paid utility property was a disaster for me. So yeah.
I think the key there, Charles, and it's something that we really spend a lot of our energy on, is just education. We do a lot of meetings with our clients, with residents or tenants if it's a commercial building. And when we can show them, and it's clear when we show them this, that they actually now have control on what those utility costs are. Usually the dots get connected and they realize, rather than burying that, they're going to pay for that utility no matter what.
Yeah.
But if it's buried in the monthly rent, they have zero control on that, versus if it's broken out, they now, based on their behavior, they are going to know that exactly what they're paying. And you can lower the rent. So it's actually, for a property manager,
what?
It may be a marketing advantage.
Hold on, Kelly. I must not have heard you correctly. I'm lower the rents. No.
Well, let's say, yeah, we don't want to talk about that.
Yeah,
but if you've got $100 and
can you bleep that out?
Just bleep that out. Cut that. Cut it. Slice it. But no, if you're trying to cover $100 of utilities every month in your rent, and you now are billing separately for that, you can take that off of what you're marketing, and it may make you more competitive on the open market. It just a thought.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about a transition. How does it start working with you? So I decide my 56 unit apartment building, it's been all bills paid for a while. I'd love to be able to do something about the water. So I call up Kelly. Kelly comes in with the right solution. I'm on the East Coast. Kelly's on the West Coast, 56 unit property. Can you just mail the meters to me and I can physically install them myself? Or do you have to have people come in and put them in for me? Or how does that work?
Another good question, Charles. We are set up to where we're going to really get smart with how capable you are and your team is. And we find that a lot of our clients, if they're across the country, we're going to do an amazing amount of work at our office to label and to pre-configure and pre-wire, so that out of the box, the plumber can just install this, or the electrician can install it with a minimal amount of dealing with the issues. However, we also have technicians that can come to the property if necessary, but we really, really strive for a plug and play type of an application.
Yeah.
Whether we come to the property site or whether we send it out and work with your local team, in all of those cases, we're going to be right there commissioning the system, and we don't leave until everything's up and running and it's working well.
Okay. Now you get everything up and running on my 56 units. Now, remember, my property, I run it incredibly well. It's 100% occupied. So that means you've gone into 100% of the units. You've installed this thing. Everyone's on a 12-month lease right now. I can't change anything at this point. So as they renew, that's when I hit them with a new lease, say, hey, listen, no rent increase this year, but you are going to start paying for your utilities. And go ahead. I saw you're about to say something.
Well, this is one of those situations where it depends on your local jurisdiction and the legal restrictions. We have many clients that can, with a 90-day notice, notify their residents that they're going to be changing from inside the rent to billing separately. We do have other areas where we see that you do need to wait for a lease renewal. Many of our clients in that circumstance will anticipate adding a metering system July of 2024, and we're going to spend between now and then getting the hardware in place so that by that time, most, if not all, of the residents have got a new lease and they're ready to go. If it turns out that we need to only add 1/12 of the property every month, and it takes us a year to fully get all 56 of those units online, that's also something that we handle on a regular basis.
Okay, how I would see it typically going. All right. So, Kelly, great stuff. Am I missing anything? Is there something I should know that you haven't told me yet?
You've covered all of the real key things. I think that sometimes, Charles, maybe there's a property manager that has had an experience with separate billing utilities, whether it be RUBS or submetered, and there were issues. They didn't collect the money well, or things got bogged down, and they said, "Oh, it's just easier to bury it into the rent." And I would say that if you have an experience that's 5-10 years old, that you really should look at it again. The industry is very mature. This equipment has now been around many decades. It just works. The good service providers for billing are really customer service focused, and they really want to do a good job and make it simple. A specific example of this is the data that's coming on all of that utility billing can be automatically uploaded into your property management software. There isn't an extra step that you need to go add it. So it's those kinds of features now that our industry has gotten much better at to make this very simple for that owner manager. The other thing that I want to touch on is a whole subject that we haven't talked about yet, but it's a powerful one. And that is the issue of leaks. We'll talk about water leaks. And specifically, I'm talking about that leaking toilet flapper that is hung and it's running water. And many people don't realize that can cost $150, $200, $300 a month in water and sewer costs because that flapper is hung, and a resident who has no incentive to go get that fixed. Yeah. In the past, that may be discovered when you read a meter and a bill comes 45 days later. The technology now is set up to where we can see water running constantly after 24 hours, and our systems now automatically will send an email or a text to that property manager and say, you got to go look at unit 112. There's water running. It's a suspected leak. And it works very well. And I want to make sure that your listeners know about that feature as well.
That's amazing, because I'll tell you, I had a property where I had individual water meters. I was paying them all because that was an all bills paid, but they were individual meters, and I got to see the water. I would find out, 45 days later from my accountant that, hey, you got a problem with this one particular unit, and that's how we figured it out.
Right.
And that's crazy. So that's great that they can do it on a daily basis. And let me just tell you, and I'm going to give you this will be final word here, is you just described someone, the person who just felt it was easier to bury the utilities in the rental cost. You know what? That's the lazy property manager. That's not the owner. Because I mean, what you have to understand here is that you can hide it in there, but you can't increase your rents every 12 months. You can only increase them very slowly. The utility companies, they go up whenever, as they see fit. So if you package that utility bill inside the rent, you're going to keep the profitability of that property is going to be a lot slower and lower because you're hiding those utilities. If you carve that utility bill out of your NOI and just grow the rents, and who cares what the utility company does, your property will be so much more profitable. So that is key to your thing. And Kelly, when do I start winning trips for your sales contest? Because I'm ready to come on board. This will be the easiest thing to sell in my business, and I'm ready to come on board.
We regularly talk to each other about the fact that when we just tell our story, almost everybody has that very same reaction. Charles, how can I sign up? This just seems like, why would I not do that? And unfortunately, there is a big part of our industry that just isn't aware of the specifics. So we're happy to be talking to you today, and let's get the word out. And this is good for our world. We're saving water. It's a conservation.
What the heck with our world? I'm talking about profit here, Kelly. Come on.
We are increasing profits. Absolutely true as well. Yep.
Oh, that is great. Hey, listen, this is great stuff. This has been so incredibly informative. Now, listen, at the bottom of this podcast, we got the show notes, and we're going to send them to your page. I'm also going to set it up. I have another page that people will be able to click on, and we're going to get the ultimate guide to submetering from your office, so people can get their hands on that. Also, you have a webinar that talks about the ROI calculation for the submetering. So, folks, if you need to understand it from a number standpoint, Kelly's got the tools to help you do it. So, and then I'm obviously going to have stuff on my site as well. I think I'm going to be blasting this out as an ebook because this has been absolutely fantastic. I get asked this question all the time, Kelly. I'm so glad. I mean, how long have you and I been friends now? How many years has it been?
Oh, how many years has it been, Charles?
I think it's about maybe 1 hour. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, hey, great stuff. Absolutely fantastic. We're going to look forward to pushing this podcast out. It was really, really good stuff. And this is going to help out a lot. I can tell you right now, I got tons of clients that should be tapping into this and contacting you right away. I will be mentioning it on my client call today with all my clients. And I've got, I'm right now I'm under contract or 3 hotels that we're converting to multifamily properties. And this is the answer. This is absolutely the answer. We go in there, we renovate all of those units, we put them all on submeters, and we just let it ride. That's beautiful. Great stuff.
Let's get you a quote for that, Charles. If your listeners have more questions, they can visit our website, submetersolutions.com/Charles, and they can send us some contact information, and we'll be able to give them a free evaluation, give them a price quote. They can see our ROI calculator, find out more about our billing services and those details, and talk to our experts.
All right. Now, you just mentioned something that I think we also have to talk about is you said you'd get me a quote. What do you need to quote on properties?
We need some basic information, what the basic layout is, what utilities you're talking about, Not a lot. We typically can zero in, a newer property may need both a hot and cold water meter in every unit. So we're going to ask a couple very basic questions if it's a plumbing or an electrical situation, but don't let that scare you. We're going to walk you through the details and be with you on every step. So if you're like, I don't even know where to start, contact us and we'll hold your hand through that process on what we need to get you a quote.
Fantastic. Kelly, thank you so much for being on my show. I hope you've enjoyed your stay here. We always give our parting guests a gift. Not really. It's not like the Phil Donahue show. Like all of our guests stay at the Drake Hotel when they're in the Chicago area. So, all right, buddy, it's good to talk.
My pleasure.
To you, and we will talk soon.
Yes, we will. Thank you, Charles.